The next chapter I would like to discuss here is servlet chaining. So what is the meaning of servlet chaining? Multiple servlets are involved in processing of a single request is known as a servlet chaining. I'm pretty sure you haven't understood the definition, but I will explain. Okay. So multiple servlets are involved in the processing of a single request is known as a servlet chaining. So first of all, I will tell you the default behavior. How this default behavior is going to enable with the servlet chaining technique. A default behavior in the applications are like this. Say example, this is my application. In my application, I am having 3 servlets. Imagine 3 servlets. Say this is my first servlet. Okay. For the first servlet, we will have a request object and a response objects for every servlet, right? So this is what your request object and the response objects. Similarly, I am having the second servlet and the third servlet also. It's a second servlet. And okay, I'll use 2 servlets, fine. Easy to explain. It's a request object, a response object of the SRU number 1. It's a S1 servlet, and this is the S2 servlet. Now what happens? This is the browser. When the browser sending the request to the /S1 servlet, now at the background, the content directly it goes to the container. From the container it verifies the S1 servlet is there. If that is present, it creates a request and response by calling the service method. Agreed? Okay. And I have the same browser and maybe different browser. I am sending a request to the second application called /S2. It's a new browser or same browser. Now what happens again? It comes to the same server. From there it verifies the container. From there it will identify the name of the servlet S2 is there here, your pattern name. On top of the service method, it creates request and response objects. I mean to say, for each and every request, a new request, new response is creating. For the second request, again for the second servlet, a new request, new response is creating. Agreed? Okay. Suppose I am having 10 servlets. Okay. The 10 requests are coming to 10 servlets. 10 request and response object will be created. I am having 1 lakh of servlets. Okay, 1 lakh requests are coming to my all the applications. 1 lakh request, 1 lakh response object will be created for sure. For every request, a fresh request, a fresh response is creating. This is problem number 1. Okay, because multiple objects are creating, right? Problem number 2. In S1, what is this object? Request. What is this object? Response. This is the request to this response. And this request object is on top of S1, right? And I am setting some data here, set attributes of ABC comma some test. Test is the data I am assigned to the ABC of 1. And can I access this data within the S2 servlet of request here? No. Why? Because the moment when somebody sends the request to the S2 is creating the new request object, and the new request object will read the data only from this place, but it cannot go here, it can't read the data from here. Where we are adding the data? S1 request object. Where we are trying to read it actually? S2 request object. That is not possible. Okay, so that I cannot here assumes the request is scope object. The scope of the request is only within the same servlet, and if the new servlet trying to access the request or get attribute, it cannot. It won't give. It will be the null value only. Why? Because for every servlet a fresh request, fresh response is generating. This is the problems. Okay, so this situation I'm just going to change it like this. What I do here is I have the request and response. Okay, and a servlet. I'm sending a request to a first servlet S1. Now a fresh request is going to establish on top of the S1 servlet. Later on you want to execute S2 also. So the S1 is executing S2 internally. Previously we used response.send redirect. So S1 is called S2 also. In this case, what happens? That also will create a new request to response objects. But now what I'm doing is, what if the S2 is not going to create a new request and new response objects? The S2 is going to reuse the request object of the S1, the response object of the S1. I have a S3 also. The S3 also trying to reuse the request object of the S1, the request object of the S1. Understand? So if the S2, S3, S4, S5 remaining servlets are not creating a fresh request, fresh response, then this is known as a servlet chaining. Okay? To whom I am sending a request? S1. S1 is executing what? S2. The S2 is executing what? S3. S3 executing what? S4. All are the servlets, right? So multiple servlets are involved in processing of a single request is known as a servlet chaining. Now you got the definition? Okay, chaining is like this. I do send request to only one servlet. That servlet invokes another servlet. That executes another servlet. Likewise, all the servlets are getting involved. That is known as chain of the servlet. This chain of the servlet can be achieved using one of the final interface we will discuss in Java 6 interface, that is called RequestDispatcher. RequestDispatcher. The RequestDispatcher is the one, it will dispatch the request. How means? Only the request only it will dispatch. The second servlet, while executing the second servlet, it will dispatch the request object of the S2 and response of the S2 to S1 only. So that S2 will reuse the request and response objects of the S1. Okay, so this application I'll discuss without dispatcher, with the dispatcher, then you understand the difference between what is what. You got the main concept actually? Why you are going to use this one? Because I can save a lot of request response objects. Only one request, one response object will be used to process multiple requests. That's the advantage. Second thing is, if you add any data in the request object of the S1, these data are available to S2, S3, S4. Anybody can read your data about this one because all are reusing the request and response of your S1. That's the specialty. Any question in the theory class? You got the main concept, right? The practical implementation I'm going to explain you right now. Clear now? See here.
So let's move up the definition.
Multiple servlets are involved in processing of a single request. The S1 is a single request. The S1 internal executing S2, S3, S4. That's known as a multiple servlets.
Sir, if the browser is S2, sir, then request and response will be follow to S2. Sir.
If I'm trying to send a request S2, the S2, yeah.
Always send the request from S2, sir.
Okay.
Response and request.
I didn't understand question.
You are telling that S1 is the browser.
S1 is the browser. No, S1 is not the browser. S1 is a URL.
It is sending the request to S1, sir.
Yes.
And all is handling this response and request from S2, S3, S4.
Exactly.
And from if we send the S2
Okay,
URL,
good question. If you are sending the S2 URL here, you are directly executing S2, right? The S2 should dispatch to S1. The S2 can dispatch to S3. It can dispatch to S4 also. All remaining also can read this thing. Whatever.
and response and request from where it will come.
S2 only. I'm sending a request S1 means from S1, S2 means S2 only, S3 means S3 only. From there only you are doing. This technique we'll discuss with practical stuff. Okay, na? Right. See here, in the Eclipse, already I have created a project called servlet chaining demo. And in this case, I would like to create 3 servlets for your information. This is the COM package. SRV1 is the one of the servlets. And I want to call SRV2 also. For this disable. SRV2 also. Finally, SRV3. Okay, I'm having SRV1. So the SRV1 I'm trying to write, print to writer out equal to response dot get writer out of println welcome to SRV1 servlet, and same thing I would like to copy into the second servlet also, SRV2. This is welcome to SRV2 servlet and SRV3 servlet. Okay, that's where my three servlets are configured accordingly. Now initially I use without dispatcher technique. I want to tell you that the first SRV1 request object cannot be reused by the SRV2. I want to show you that. So in SRV1 I'm trying to add something called the request object is already available here. So request dot set attribute. I want to add an attribute called name. The value of the name here is Praveen. Okay, and I'm trying to print this outer println h2 name is plus request dot get attribute of name. Understand? There only I'm setting, there only I'm printing it. I want to prove that the request object is available only to the single servlet. Okay, the same kind of statement I want to print in the second servlet also, SRV2. Okay, name is like that, name from where I'm getting actually request object. I want just test with 1 and 2. If not, so 3 also doesn't work. 3 I need not test actually. So the first one okay, after that in the first one I have a link. The link is I want to go to SRV2 out.println. If you want to go to SRV2 ahref equal to SRV2, okay, next slash a small code I've written. I'm done that. I'm trying to run as the Java server. The SRV1 is printing the name is Praveen. Why? Because the request object I'm setting in the same SRV1, there I'm printing SRV1, so I'm just getting the name is Praveen. Now moving to where my SRV2, I'm clicking on next button. The SRV2 got executed but name is null. The reason behind the thing is when I'm sending the fresh request to SRV2, what happens is at the background the container creates a new request on top of the SRV2. When the SRV2 creates a new request, the new request consists of nothing actually, so that you are getting the null value. So SRV2 cannot get the data about the request from the SRV1s. It's impossible. There is only two ways to get the data from SRV1 to SRV2 is request and application objects. Otherwise I can use URL rewrite technique, otherwise I can use something called cookies technique. So all the techniques what we discussed so far I can apply to make the visibility of this one to this one. But using the request object by default is highly impossible. Clear now? This is the first thing. The second thing is I would like to execute an automatic process. I want to call the first servlet. The first servlet should set the data in the request object. Then that should send request to my second servlet. My second servlet should print the data. So for that I'm trying to use response dot send redirect. Send redirect. Where I'm going? SRV2 I'm going. I'm done that. If I'm going to use in this style, If I come back here, refresh this, SRE1, okay, I'm sending a request SRE1, the SRE1 is calling where? SRE2, but I'm not getting the next, right? Why? Because if I use a send redirect, that directly will take you to the next sublet, but that also not using the request object. It's a problem. Now I want to apply the concept about chaining technique over there. I want to send a SRE1, SRE1 should send SRE2, SRE2 should execute SRE3, so on like that. Okay, see here, in SRE number 1, I'm trying to use like this. I'm not going to, I'm setting some data called request a set attribute of something. Okay. Anyhow, on the same sublet that is available, I need not print on the same sublet. Later on, I'm trying to use RequestDispatcher is interface. Some RD equal to request dot get RequestDispatcher. Where do you want to go? I want to go to SRE2. That's okay. Now it's asking, okay boss, you are asking me to go to SRE2 and let me know what to do. Shall I directly go to SRE2 by forwarding, or shall I include the output of the SRE1 plus SRE2 both? It's asking you. So you have two methods on top of the RD to execute. Number 1, forward. Number 2, include. I will explain both in detail now. So I'm going to use something called RD.forward. The forward will take the request and response of your SRE1 and goes to the SRE2 and will hand over these two to the SRE2. In this case, I'm 100% sure that SRE2 never create a new request, new response. It will reuse the request response after given by the SRE number 1. So before you're giving, what are doing actually? I'm adding a value. That value where you're printing actually? We're printing here. Previously we got null now. Okay. After that, I'm trying to send request to which sublet? SRE1. Now SRE2 to SRE1 is calling what? SRE2. And what is this now? Praveen. How can the Praveen got printed in SRE2? Because of, I'm 100% sure SRE2 is not created a new object called request. It is reuse the request are coming from the SRE1. But in SRE1, already I am setting the value called Praveen into the name. That's the reason why in SRE2, the request get attribute of name, you got the value in the browser like this. It's a proven that it's going to print like that. Two things you need to understand. First thing is, S1 is calling S2. S2 is printing some data. In this context, the SRE1 output is discarded. You cannot see welcome to SRE number 1, that you can't see that. Because I'm forwarding, right? In this case, directly it goes to the target sublet and it executes. Okay, if you know about that, I'm just going to apply some other logic over there. The logic is after the forward, out of println, last line of SRE1. Okay, and before the forward, first line of what? SRE1. 3 dots I use for my reference. Okay, done. Same thing as SRE2. After this welcome, I'm going to use the first line and last line of SRE2. First line of SRE2. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm trying to send a request to my first sublet, SRE1 number 1. Click on that. First line of what is this? Later on name is printing. Later on last line of SRE2. Are you printing anything else SRE number 1? No, right? Now, how the forward is executing? You try to understand it. Once the SRE1 is, I'm just using the forward. The forward is moving to the SRE2, executing, is not coming back. I mean to say, it will come back actually. It will come back and it will execute, but the output of the SRV2 using the outer println is not executed. That's not possible. Means the outer println data is not going to get executed after this forward technique actually. That's where this works fine. Second technique, I'm going to use something called include. The include method will include the output of the SRV1, output of the SRV2 both data. Now what happens is, first thing is this line get executed, later on this line get executed. Once this get executed, it comes to the SRV2, the entire output is going to get executed. Again, after the end of the method, comes back to SRV number 1. After this include, if any output is there, that get executed. Clear now? Now see this. I am sending a request to now watch SRV1, sending a request. Welcome to SRV number 1. First line of SR number 1. Later on what happened? Jumped. And first line of SRV2, name is Praveen. Last line of SRV2, later on came back. What is that? Last line of SRV number 1. After this method, this got executed. But when I'm using forward, this got executed? No, right? So that if I'm using forward, the output about SRV1 is discarded. If I'm going to use include, the complete data about SRV1 is included and the SR2 also will be included. Like that. See this. The same kind of code in the SRV2, I'm going to write in my SRV3 also. After the last line, before the last line, I'm trying to use again request dispatcher RD equal to request dot get request dispatcher about. I want to move to SRV3 from 2 to where I want to go 3 by using RD dot include of request comma response objects. I'm done this. Now what I'm doing is I want to copy from SR3 is okay. Alright, welcome is there, right? From the first line to the up to last line, I want to copy in the SR3 also. So this now not needed. This is the SR3. Now name in SRV3. I'm getting the same request object. Now see this. From SR number 1 where you are going? From SR number 1 where you are going? SRV2. SR2 printing all the stuff, right? From there where you are going again? SR3. In SR3 printing, right? So from SR1 to SR2, the output of the SR2 will be printed. From there again you go to SR3, prints, come back to SRV2, print after the include method, come back to SRV1, print after the include methods. Okay, so the last line of the SRV2 will be printed only after. Okay, the last line of SRV3, right? Okay, in this case, the last line where I'm just using here I should use 3 and 3. Okay, in this case SR2's the last line will be executed after a complete statements about SRV3. Okay, the final output I'm sending a request to SRV number 1 right now. Send request. First SRV number 1, first line, welcome to SRV2, first line of SRV2, name in SRV2 is Praveen. Then after that directly SRV3, first line of SRV3, name in web SR3 is Praveen again, and later last line of SRV3 done. Again came back to SRV2, the last line about SRV, actually I forgot to change it. It says SRV2, later on it's a last line of SRV1. In the SRV1, this is last line of SRV2. I haven't saved this. That's the thing. Understand? That's where it works. And if I'm going to use, here is a forward, where forward,
Directly display.
and here also forward. Okay, now the only the SRV3's data will be displayed back. I'm sending a request right now, though both are forwarding. In this case, we'll get the data only about SRV3, but SRV3 is able to display the data about the SRV1s, right? The name is Praveen. That's a specialty. This is called chaining of servlets. If I'm sending one servlet, how many servers are executing? 3 servers are executing. Multiple servers are involved in processing of a single request is known as a servlet chaining technique. Very good technique actually this is. You can save a lot of request and response objects. Okay, you can ask me a question. So the first one I would let forward, the second thing I would let include. Now what happens? Now though you are using the include, the SRV1 output is no way of displaying. In this case, SRV2, SRV3 output will be displayed. Why? Because you are using include of SRV3, right? So I'm sending a request to the SRV1. But SRV1 is forward only, but you display SRV2 and SRV3. No.
Wherever including the
Yes. In this case, the SRV1 I'm going to use something called include. Okay, I'm just including SRV1 plus SRV2 also, but SRV2 I'm just using for.
then SRV1 and SRV3 ranges. Only SRV1.
Very good. Now in this case, I'm trying to send request to my SRV1. In this case, I'm going to display data only about the SRV3. Why? Because when I'm using forward, the forward never comes back again. That's what I told you, right? So never use forward in anywhere, and you can use include and forward later, but forward should not be the first statement. Between. So here I can use something called include, and SR2 also should be include. Otherwise, forward will discard output of everything and they display only the last one here. So here also should include. This will include every output about the 1, 2, and 3 servlets. So if I'm sending a request to SRV1, then you can see this. All that output is getting displayed. Okay, the sequence is going. The sequence is coming like this, like this, like this. The sequence is going like this, like this, like this. 1 is executing 2, 2 is executing 3, 3 is coming back to 2, 2 is coming back to 1. Clear now? This is known as a dispatcher servlets, RS servlet chaining. And which interface we use to create the servlet chaining? RequestDispatcher. RequestDispatcher is very, very important question you need to understand. This is one question. Second difference here is, how many servers are executing right now? 3. To whom I send request right now? SRV1. Do you see the 2s and 3s URL pattern name there? No. That's for the advantage. You cannot see who is giving this response, who is giving this response. Okay? Because the URL pattern of the second and third is secured. You cannot see that. Where in the sender redirect, you will directly knowing the who is displaying this output. It goes there, executes and displays. Yes, that's the difference between, another difference between, okay, servlet dispatcher. One is called chains, the second thing called, you cannot see the target servlet URL pattern. Even though you are using forward or include, doesn't matter, it cannot show you the target servlet name over there. Okay, though for your conference, I'm trying to use here is a forward. Okay, but the SRV2 is again using the forward. So in this case, if I'm trying to send request to SRV1, I'm getting SRV3, but even I don't know who is giving this response. Understand? That's a special. Security is very good on this end. Okay. Now you can ask me one question, sir. What is the difference between response or send redirect and RequestDispatcher forward? This is very, very important interview question to understand. One is that, okay. What is the difference between response or send redirect? The second thing is RequestDispatcher forward or include. Okay, see this. There is a difference which you don't know. I'm going to explain right now. First of all, I'm trying to discuss about RequestDispatcher, response star send redirect. Yes, this is my server.
one servlet to another servlet.
Okay, yes. Here I am having two servlets. This one servlet and this another servlet. This is S1 servlet. This is S2 servlet. Okay, now there is a browser. The browser is sending a request to /S1. What is the technique you are going to use right now? Response dot send redirect. I'm going to use something S2. This code is written in S1. This code is written in S1. So S1 having this code. Okay, whoever send the request to S1, the request is coming to the S1 directly. The S1 is forwarding request to S2. That's my program. You understood the program? Okay, in this case what happens? Step number 1. When the S1 is executed, if the S1 servlet contains a statement called response dot send redirect of S2, what happens is the S2, no, that's their mistake. In this case, the S2 is a server, right, will give the response back to the browser with whatever the servlet you are going to forward. The servlet forwarding is S2, right, if that is present. So that the client receive the request here. Again, the client will send a fresh request to the S2 here. The moment the S2 is given by here, this S2 is firstly establish a new request to S2. Remember something, S1 is not calling S2. Who is calling S2? Your client is calling S2. What definition of the servlet? But the moment when the client sends the request to a servlet, it creates a request and response objects. So that this will get a new request, new response. This will get a new request, new response. If the client sends a request to a server, definitely a fresh request, fresh response will be created for sure. Okay. Now who is sending the request to the S2? Server or client? Client is sending a request. See this, S2 sending a request. Why? You are going to use something S2. The response is given back to client that okay boss, I'm having S2, take it. The client is taking the target resource to be executed by the client, and the client is new fresh request is establishing on top of the S2, and you are going to get request to S2. This is complicated to understand. If you read it, you never understand this. Okay, but I just studied in detail about this response redirect, how it works, then understood this is the technique happens about that. Always, if I are going to use redirect technique, the new request is going to happen. The server never calls the second one. You feel like this is calling, but it won't. The response will give back here, okay, if the S2 is exists, it will give a success, yes, is there, please take it. If the S2 is not there, it will give something called a 404 not there. Like that, it's going to give a status code of the request about the S2. This is about request and response dot send technique. Any questions? Understood, right? Second one, when I'm just using the response dot send redirect technique. I'm so sorry. Request dispatcher forward. I'm just going to use rd dot forward or include whatever may be, no problem. I want to use request dot get to request dispatcher of S2. This code where I'm writing actually, I'm writing in S1. Once this code is executed in S1, so the first step is the client sending a request to a browser, the browser sending a request to the server. Here you have the resource called S1, that's fine. In the S1, if this statement is get encountered, on top of the request.get record dispatcher of S2, directly without coming back to the client, the S2 will execute the S1 will execute the S2 left directly. Understand? Previous cases what happened? The request came back to client, the client sent a fresh request to the S2, but in this case what happens? Not like this. it executes a fresh request call. It will call directly S2 without going back here. In this case, within this case, it can reuse the request of the S1 to S2 can reuse the request object of the S1 and response object of the S1. That's the style of the redirection techniques. Understand how it works? This is very important interview question. If somebody asks, if you can explain like this, that's enough. Okay now? Right. So with this concept we have done successfully servlet application. The last topic left about the do get and do post method I will take. That's not a final session. I'll take after the break. But I want you guys to practice this. Then we'll discuss about later. Maybe end of the day.